Hello designers, you're welcome to another tutorial. So in this tutorial I'm going to be using this Ankara fabric and it is 4 yards. I'll be using 4 yards of Ankara fabric. So I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 4. As you can see here, I have my selvage to selvage. I folded it here twice at first. I folded it twice, then I flipped this over it to make it 4 pieces of fabric. So it's folded into 4. At the center front there is on fold, the center back too is on fold, while at the selvage you can see I have 4 pieces of fabric at the selvage there, and then at the top here is on fold. The length of the fabric is 62 inches. The length I need for the gown is 60 inches, but I added seam allowances for the shoulder and to hem the gown 2 inches, so that makes it 62. Then for the neckline, I'll be using 3 inches for the neck width and 1 inch for the neck depth. So I'll be cutting the neckline for the back on both the front and the back. As you can see, the way the fabric is folded, I'm cutting front and back together. So to get the length of my sleeve, my shoulder will be divided into 2. Then I'll add my sleeve length. So that is what I'm using to get the length of the fabric. I'm actually using the length of this fabric where you have the selvage as my sleeve length. So I'm going to draw out my neckline. Like I said earlier, the neck width is 3 inches, the neck depth is 1 inch. Then I'll curve it. Then at the shoulder, I'll be slanting my shoulder by 1 inch. You don't have to slant yours if you don't want to have seam allowance on the shoulder. If you want it on fold, you don't have to slant yours, but I would like to slant mine by 1 inch. So I'll connect that into the neck width. Then for the opening up of my sleeve, so it depends how wide you want your sleeve to be. So whatever you are using, your round sleeve, you divide it by 2, then you add your seam allowance to sew the shoulder if you are having a joining on the shoulder, and then another seam allowance to sew it into the armhole. For the opening of the sleeve, I'm going to be using 10 inches. So my seam allowances are already in the 10 inches. Then I'm going to draw a straight line. Then from the center front and center back, this folded part, I'm going to get the wideness of the gown. So for the wideness of the gown, I will either use the bust or the hip. So whichever one that is the biggest is what I will use. I'm making a straight gown, by the way. So I'm using, if it's the hip that is bigger than the bust, I'll use the hip. I'll divide it by 4, then add my side seam allowance. So this person is 52 inches wide, but for ease I'll add 2 inches, so I'll be using 54 because the gown is supposed to be free. I'll be using 54. I'll divide that by 4, and then I'll add half an inch to sew it. Because of the curve of the armhole, I'll be using half an inch to sew the side seam. You can use 1 inch to sew your side seam, but don't use more than 1 inch because the curve of the armhole won't come out nice. So what I've gotten for the wideness, I'm going to mark that all the way down and draw a straight line all the way down, just as you see me do. After getting the wideness of the gown, I'm going to connect this sleeve opening line I drew earlier. I'll connect it to the wideness line, so using a curve. So now I'm going to cut out the neckline. and then cut out the shoulder and the side. I won't be cutting the edge, the selvage there. I'll just fold it like that because that is the length I need. So this is what it looks like after cutting. I'm going to remove the pins and then separate them. I'll remove the one for the back and lay out the one for the front. So I want to cut the center part of the front. The neck width is 3 inches, but at the center front I'm going to remove 2 inches, not 3 inches at the center front. Then I'll connect it to the neck width just as I'm doing. So for the built-up collar, I'm going to be using this fabric. It's called a shiny face fabric. I'm going to pin down the fabric and then I'll measure 6 inches. I'm going to take out the center front and then I'm going to measure that part that I cut out. I'm going to measure the length I have there from the shoulder down to the hem. So it's giving me 63 inches, though I cut it 62 inches, but because of the slanting around the neckline into that center front, so I'm having 63 inches for the length. So on the black fabric I'm going to measure 63 inches. And then I'll take the back piece and I'll measure the neckline. I'll measure what I have there. I have about 4 inches. I'll measure it again. I have about 4 inches. So I'm going to add that 4 inches to the 63. Whatever you have when you measure yours, you add it to the length of the front, basically. Then for the wideness, I'll be using 6 inches. I'm going to mark 6 inches all the way down, and then I'll use my ruler to connect the lines, and then I'll cut it out. At that part where I have it folded, I'm going to use my scissors to slit it open to make these 2 pieces. So I need 2 pieces of this. Just watch what I'm doing. I'm going to place the 2 pieces of fabric I just cut. I'm going to place it on my interfacing. I'm using an interfacing that is of medium thickness. It's not thick, it's not soft, it's just in between. So that is what I'll be using, and then I'll go ahead to press it on the interfacing, also known as stay. So this is it after applying the interfacing. I've gone ahead to trim all the edges and make sure everything is smooth and perfect. So these are the 2 pieces that I applied the interfacing on. So I'm going to place them on top of each other as I'm doing in this video, and then I'll pin them together. From the edge there, I'm going to measure 15 inches. So that will be for the neck opening. I'll measure 15 inches. At that point where I have joining at the top, you can decide not to have a joining. You can cut yours long without joining at that part where I put pin. It's also fine. But because this is very long, I'm going to have a joining at that upper part. So what I'm doing now is I'm getting the middle of the 6 inches. I'm marking the midpoint. That is 3 inches on this side, 3 inches on the other side. And then I'm going to use a ruler to draw the center lines I just marked. After drawing and marking the center, I'm going to pin the 2 fabrics together. The fabrics are right sides facing each other. So I'm going to pin them together so that they don't move when I'm sewing. There's going to be a slit at the center front. So I'm going to mark that slit on this piece now. So from the down part of this fabric, I'll measure how long I want my slit to be. I can use 15 inches. I can use 20 inches. So this line, I'll be sewing this line 0.5 to join the 2 fabrics up there. And then this opening, this 15 inches opening, I won't be sewing it. From this mark, I'm going to sew it all the way down to this mark where the slit is going to start from, and then I won't sew this other part. That part will be opened for slits. I hope you understand. I'm done sewing it. I'll remove my pins and show you what it looks like. So I've gone ahead to sew the upper parts, that is to join the 2 fabrics together. So that part is going to be my center back for the neckline. This place, this joining is going to be the center back for the neckline. So I'm going to fold this into 2. Just watch what I'm doing. It's very easy. So this is going to be my neckline for the opening of the neckline where the head will pass through. My needle was blunt, so I didn't know, and that is why I have my fabric squeezing. But at the end of the day, I'm going to iron it out and it's going to be fine. I eventually changed the needle. I'm going to continue folding it into 2 this way, all the way down. I'll fold it all the way down. So this is the opening for the slit I was talking about earlier. while this is the opening for the neckline where the head will pass through. I'm going to take my Ankara now. I'll open the back piece and put the front piece on top of it, right sides facing each other. I'm going to place the shoulders on top of each other. I'll arrange it properly, right sides facing each other, and then I'll sew the shoulder by 0.5 inch. I'll sew this side of the shoulder and then the second side of the shoulder also. After sewing the two shoulders, then I'll take the built-up collar and then I will align it to the center back. The black material is what I'm calling collar. So the joining I have at the center, I'm going to place it on the center back of this gown, and then I will sew it into the front piece, that part of the front where I cut out. I'm going to sew it into the back neckline, then into the front cutout. Just watch what I'm doing. It's very easy. Right sides facing each other. I'll place it this way and then I'll sew the front, the two fronts and the back neckline. After sewing that, I'll go ahead to sew the side. So this is what it looks like after joining the two shoulders and sewing the collar into it. So the excess at the down part, I'll cut it out. I'm going to flip the back fabric over the front, right sides facing each other again, and then I'm going to sew the side. From the sleeve, I'm going to sew it. I'll enter the curve and then into the side. So I'm using 1/2 inch to sew mine because I want that curve to relax, but you can use 1 inch. So I don't have slit by the side and I don't have pockets, but if you want to put pockets, I already made a video on how to put pocket on kaftan. You can please check it out. Then I'm going to fold the sleeve. After sewing the two sides, I'll fold the hem of the sleeve. If you want to put a black band on the hem of the sleeve, you can go ahead and do that too, but I won't be putting on mine. Then after sewing the two sleeve, I'll sew the hem of the dress. I'll fold it around. That is all.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please kindly like, share, comment, subscribe if you're new here, and click the notification bell. Thank you.